Let's restructure mortgages to make them affordable.
I wanted to talk about the Hope for Homeowners bill, and maybe Congressmember Kaptur could weigh in here. It was passed last summer. The idea is it would help out something like 450,000 homeowners to stop the foreclosures. And in the end, I think there have been 21 successful applications. It's almost impossible to go through that system. Barney Frank's saying, well, now they've not only prevented abuse, they've prevented use. And so today they're reopening it. What's that about, Congressmember Kaptur?
Well, I am one of 3 Democrats that voted no on that bill. And during the debate and during our caucus meetings on the bill, Congressman Frank, who chairs the committee, and I had an ongoing debate in a very open forum where I basically said it won't work, and that the necessary workouts were not going to be done, that the administration would find a way, because of the way that the bill was written, not to give us the immediate help that we needed. He prevailed in that vote. I did not. But I went up to him after that vote. I'll never forget it. And I said, you know what, Barney? I said, you're a friend of mine. We served together. I really hope you're right. And my heart was breaking at that point because I knew that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of more people in my region, just my region, would receive foreclosure notices and would be thrown out of their homes during that period. And that is exactly what has happened. I hope that Chairman Frank will act with dispatch to bring to the table the parties that need to be brought to the table to get these workouts going. This foreclosure crisis has tied up our entire banking system to the point where companies that want to expand in districts like ours, where unemployment is over 11.5% now, cannot get credit from the banks. This is having a terrible impact on the credit system of this country. And that bill was completely inadequate, and it was almost doomed to fail. The proper way to proceed is to bring the FDIC and the SEC to the table now. I hope that the new president, President Obama, will bring the chair, will bring Sheila Bair to his office, will make necessary appointments to those boards, and talk to people who've actually resolved bank crises in the past, like William Isaac, who had served both Democrats and Republicans back in the 1970s and 80s when we had these problems before. This isn't the first time that the banks of this country have sort of done it to the American people, and there are very knowledgeable, experienced people in the commercial banking world who've actually done these workouts and have systemically changed what needs to be done. They're not being used right now.
Congressmember Kaptur, your assessment of the Treasury Secretary, Tim Geithner, and who he has brought on?
Well, you'd asked me the question before about the influence of Wall Street in Washington. Mr. Geithner has now brought one of the major lobbyists who had lobbied for Goldman Sachs as his chief of staff, Mr. Patterson. And this revolving door between Washington and Wall Street is terribly strong. And I say, how can we trust the very people who brought us to this point to now manage the public dollars, the taxpayer dollars of the people of the United States? We need to clean out that operation, and we need to hold the Wall Street banks and all of their associates accountable to the American people. The scales of justice have to be balanced. They are far out of whack right now.
Kathy Broca is also in Toledo with Congressmember Kaptur. She's president of the Fair Housing Center there in Toledo. Tell us the scope of the problem, Kathy Broca. We heard Bruce Marks lay out what NACA's doing. What is Fair Housing Center in Toledo doing? How many people are being foreclosed on? How are you helping?
Toledo is, along with Cleveland, which was considered the epicenter of the foreclosure crisis in the country. I was talking to Cleveland people months ago who had people from all over the country showing up in their offices as the epicenter of the foreclosure crisis. So we've been struggling with this for years. The Fair Housing Center alone has helped save homeowners over $5 million by doing loan modifications and workouts. This is one small agency whose primary purpose was to investigate allegations of discrimination in housing. Now at least half of the work that we do is on foreclosures because there were really no other agencies in the city that was doing the work, and it was the primary problem in our community. And so we are doing workouts, but we're one small agency. This needs to be on a massive national scale. We can't piecemeal this any longer. I feel like my staff are little gerbils on a wheel that just keeps turning around. So as much hard work as we do, as dedicated as my staff is, we need help. I'm so tired of hearing how banks are saying, call us early before you get in trouble, and then we try to do that, and they tell us, why are you calling us? You're not even behind yet on your mortgage payment, even though the homeowners are doing their due diligence and know that they've got a loan that's going to adjust in 2 to 3 months and that they absolutely won't be able to keep those payments going. And so they're doing what the banks tell them to do. When are the banks going to do what they say they're going to do? That's my question. I was watching TV not too long ago when Maxine Waters was on, trying to get in touch with one of her constituents, lenders, to see what could be done for them. And it took her over half an hour, maybe even longer, 2-3 hours, where she kept getting the runaround. If she can't get an answer, a straight answer from the banks, what do you think our constituents are doing? How hard do you think it is for those of us who are on the front line trying to get these deals done to keep the homeowners in their houses?
What would be the single act that would help you most, would help people who are threatened with losing their homes most? Kathy Broca.
The single act would be for the banks to do what they say they've been doing for months and years. Just do what you say you're doing, that you want to keep people in their houses, that you're willing to work with them. Because we get someone at a bank, we finally get a person who's there to help, who will do these loan modifications and workouts, and then the next month they've been laid off and somebody new comes on. Get people in those departments at the banks who have the authority to do workouts that make sense. I get so tired of hearing the banks say, well, you know, these don't work, these loan modifications don't work because we give them to homeowners and then 2 or 3 months later they're right back being in default. But what they don't say is oftentimes those homeowners have gotten into workouts without any representation. The bank has thrown them something and said take it or leave it, have set them up once again for failure, and then they use those very statistics to tell the rest of the people in the United States that these are just freeloaders and why are we helping them? It's so unfair and it's so untrue.
Congressmember Kaptur, what do you think of the Obama stimulus plan? What do you think the possibility that your state, that Ohio, could get something like $9 billion under the plan? How much of a stimulus is the overall plan?
Well, first of all, I've been concerned about how much a state like Ohio, which is in deep recession, will actually receive from this program. We appreciate the President's leadership on extending unemployment benefits, on covering people with health insurance, on heating assistance. I call these lifeline programs absolutely essential. The people who have been thrown out of work have paid tax dollars to help our country when she gets in a situation like this. So I think they're getting back what they paid for, essentially. But the real issue for Ohio is if all Ohio gets is $9 billion or $12 billion, which some people have been saying, our population is 3.66% of the country, not even discounting for unemployment. We should be receiving anywhere between $25 billion and $30 billion in the various tax provisions and the investment portions of the bill. And if we do not receive that, then my question is, to which states is that money going? So I think that the lifeline support programs are critical, but here regionally right now, because our banks are not loaning, even green energy companies, we're one of the 3 leading solar energy capitals in the hemisphere. I have solar companies out here that want to bring on employees. The banks won't loan. we have companies that want to bring up factory floors right now, and even some of these Ohio banking institutions that have received TARP funds, the bailout funds, aren't making loans. So it's very important, and I hope the administration is listening to this, that
looks like we just lost the satellite. We're going to try to bring it back. We've been talking to Congressmember Marcy Kaptur, also Kathy Broca, president of the Fair Housing Center in Toledo. We're going to go to a break. We'll come back, and hopefully we'll get her back on satellite or we'll get her on the phone. But we'll wrap up that discussion, and then we're going to turn to Sri Lanka and what's happening there. This is Democracy Now! Stay with us.